think that is everyone. Oh, pretty close too. Right, ladies. Well, now just so you know, on our other online catch-ups, we're going to do a lot more me checking in with how you're going and you talking and us like working together to make tweaks. But today, if you remember correctly from last week, is the second half of workshop 1, where we're going to do all of the calculations. So we do have a lot to get through. So I'm not going to yet ask you where you're at. But I do just want to check in from the content that we shared together last week and just see how you've gone across the week. I'm just interested, have there been any shifts? Like what has come up for you? How has it helped you think differently maybe about fueling, which is really going to help support obviously the work that we're about to do together. So let's just do a little bit of a recap. What was your key takeaway, or if you've had any shifts across the week, and we can share just by unmuting. Who'd like to go first?
I got on the scales less.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's
And
huge.
didn't feel as guilty eating. Yeah.
Great. That's
Just
really
did
good.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, it's only week 1, right? And that's 2 big shifts. Yeah, good on you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Because you could still feel like icky about it.
But
Right?
it's still not natural, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's work in progress. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you feel about you for doing that?
Um, yeah. No, I feel like I need to keep going more than a week. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially the scales. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the habit hasn't been
No.
locked in yet. Totally appreciate that. But I think it's really
Yeah.
important. This is, a message for everyone. The small changes do need to be acknowledged and celebrated as a personal win. So
Mm.
yes, next week maybe you do take a step back, but then you'll take another step forward,
Yeah.
and the steps forward will only get easier. If we remember, we want to create that positivity and that ability to say, like, hey, you did a really cool thing that you were uncomfortable about, yet you did it anyway, and that's the first step in obviously starting to create the change. So, yeah, good on you. Anita's given you lots of 9s. I'm not. So that's code. I'll let you guys figure that out later.
Throwing the keyboard and it just keeps printing 9s and I'm trying to stop it. Sorry.
She's super stoked for you, Nira. All right, who'd like to go next?
I can. Protein. I've never looked at protein so much in my life. So yeah, that's
Who
been
else
an
has done
an
that?
interesting one.
Yeah, really. Yeah, we've got a couple of hands there. So when you say interesting, what do you mean by that?
Oh, I've never taken much notice of protein before. So now it's really, and I have been eating a lot more and I am not hungry after, like if I have a good amount of protein and I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't had anything since then, but I don't feel tired and I don't feel, yeah, like I'm missing anything. So that's good.
It's huge. It's only been 1 week. So it's fantastic. Imagine extrapolating that for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Compound effect, right? Great, good on you. And what did you learn about your protein, like what it was? You mentioned that you hadn't really thought about it.
I hadn't, yeah. So I'm looking at protein sources and trying to keep them natural. I'm not
Yeah.
big on like protein bars and stuff like that. So trying to find ways that I can have more protein, like people probably hate cottage cheese, but I quite like it. So I'm, eating that, whereas I wouldn't normally. So just finding sources of it.
And did you notice that did you feel like you were way under, or every day was so different you didn't know?
Way under. I was hardly eating any protein at all.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, now you'll be able to build muscle and prevent the loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Great. Instant implementation, guys. Who else? What did we learn from last week?
I was sort
Sally.
of the same on protein, and I
So I'm trying
found
to
that I needed.
Where's that? Oh, it is Sally. Sorry, keep going.
Yes, and I found that I really need to use protein snacks. So I was having boiled eggs and cans of tuna and stuff like that, or I just won't get it in.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
I'm not big on protein either. But
Yeah.
so really just keeping my eye on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was
And
good.
that's, that something to be, I suppose, aware, which is going to help all of you listen to each other and therefore start to listen to your own language. Language tells us a lot. And so with sentences like, I'm not big on protein, maybe we can shift that to, I used to not be big on it, but I'm learning to respect your language, whatever works, but respect it, build it into my diet. Because if we hold on to the belief that like we're not a protein person or we're not a fit person or we're not a strong person, it then ends up to dictating our behaviors because our brain will always make true our beliefs. So yeah, just to pick up there on your protein beliefs there, Sally, and everyone. Especially if you're someone who's like, I hate a food group. Like I think it's fair enough to say like I hate glacé cherries. Like get them away from me. They make me want to vomit. Gross. But it's not a food group that's going to impact my health. So just being aware if you have a real emotion to a big food group, that's something maybe to start building that relationship up a bit because it's just going to make it a lot easier for you to choose food that fuels you. Yeah. Good on you, Sally. The Sallys. Yeah. Who else would like to share? Anyone?
I'll
Elizabeth.
go. So I feel like I've had to tune back in and sort of take stock and realize where I've been sort of not focusing because recently I've been under like huge amount of overtime for work and stuff. Now that that's sort of easing off, I'd be like, okay, what have I been doing? And I realize I haven't been eating.
Yeah.
I've been skipping meals or like half-assing it. So I've been taking stock. Okay, where do I need to refocus?
Yeah. Yeah, great. And I think this, like with nutrition and our life, there's always moments where we have to just kind of be like, okay, I need to just recheck where I'm going here, what my strategy is, what my system is, how is my nutrition, because you'll just feel that it's gone off track because of life stresses. So yeah, nice. And welcome back, Elizabeth. We missed you last week. But we got the recording.
Thank you. Again, the overtime, but
Yeah.
I'm all done now.
Yeah. And Lolita, I think you had your hand up.
I've just noticed a big shift in me, and I think it's the training in the mornings. I've actually starting to feel hungry before 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning, whereas I didn't used to eat until about 11:30. I just wasn't getting hungry, but so I've just noticed that in the morning I have to have something substantial before I leave the house, which is really new for me, and it's only been in the last week. So I don't know whether, I was training 3 days a week with yourself and then one day with the yoga class. I've cut it back to 2 days of classes at Strong Women Can and one day with yoga. So I just feel like there's something that I'm doing at Strong Women Can that has just triggered those.
This meeting is being recorded.
Sorry, Anita, you're on 2 different devices. Yeah, if you can mute, that'll work. I'm just going to mute your other one. There we go. Okay. Oh, she's gone. Okay. Sorry, let it keep going.
Yeah, and also that's a part. Like I feel like I was eating protein. I'll probably have to work with you to know how much I should be eating, because I knew protein was really important, but I might be overdoing on the protein, and was staying away from the carbs and things like that. So it's just trying to balance that out. But there's just something shifted in my, I don't know, body rhythm, which is I wake up hungry, which is extremely rare. I haven't felt hungry in the morning for at least 5 years from what I can remember.
And don't we love that? That is your body, kicking into gear.
Yeah.
Great. And all the questions that you had about the amounts, we're going to do today. So we'll circle back to how you guys how you're feeling confidence-wise about your amounts once we've done the calculation. So yeah, great. Maybe we just have one more. Any shift or key takeaway from last week? Or we've become to a natural Marty, yes.
I can quickly go. Like everyone else has said, I've just been a bit more mindful and taking stock of what I'm actually doing and eating or not eating, which has been really good. So I haven't really changed anything yet, but just starting to process what I'm doing and where the gaps are. But also I think I've just felt a lot more positive that I'm finally doing something that will have a positive, meaningful, hopefully sustainable impact. So yeah, really excited for what's to come.
I love that. I love that. And I think it's so important. I think it's really helpful to know what you were doing naturally. Not to judge, but just to have that awareness of like, okay, this when I wasn't thinking about it, this is just this is where I was doing great. This is where I had no idea. These were my downfalls. So that we can put the energy into the right place going forward. So obviously we're going to do some calculations today, and you guys aren't going to walk out of here or stand up from your desk and walk out of your room and just nail your nutrition. Like, it's just not going to happen. So there are going to be some sort of key areas that we want to focus on, whether they're your biggest gaps. Some people are going to go for the biggest gaps, and some people are going to go for the smallest gaps. So what we're looking for is the dial that kind of creates the biggest shift. So we'll chat about that at the end, like what to focus on going forward. It's not going to be everything, but it is going to be one or two key things that will make the biggest difference for you personally. So if you have a bit of awareness of where your gaps have been, I think that really helps with your clarity in actions going forward. Cool. Now, are you happy if we dive into things now? Does anyone else have anything they want to add? Questions from last week? Great. Cool. All right. I'm just going to shift the view. I mean, you've all got your own personal view on, but just for the sake of the recording, I am going to put it on speaker view, but for some reason when I do that, Anita comes up, even though she's muted. Star of the show, Anita. It's interesting. I've never had that before. It's okay. I will pin me instead. I will be sharing my screen if it's helpful for some of the sheets. But guys, raise your hand, come off mute, or go into the chat if you have any questions, because we can pause as we go. I'll be checking in about the pace. But before we start, let's just make sure that we've got our documents. So together we did the metabolic adaptation self-assessment. Funnily enough, I need to go back to gallery for this. Can I just get a hand that for everyone who has got their score? So you did this personally. So it's minimal adaptation, moderate adaptation, severe adaptation. Yes. Oh, Hem even gave it. Look at that. Hem gives a thumbs up. That's really helpful also. So next time we'll do that. Thank you, Hem. Okay, great. Everyone's got amazing. Because all you'll need for the calculations is your category. Okay, the next document I just want to make sure that we have is your personalized calorie calculation. So give me a thumbs up if you've all got that. Some people are taking it literally, others are actually giving the thumb on screen. Okay, you know what? You guys are all nailing this. I'm going to flip it and just put your hand up if you don't have something. And then I think that's going to be the easiest way. Right, the next sheet, the macro breakdown worksheet. Do we all have that? Anyone not have it? I should be asking. Put your hand up. Okay, fabulous. And I know this seems like a lot, but we'll actually, like, they're quite simple. Number 4 is your hand portion guide. Does anyone not have that? Loving this. Okay, the next one is your blank blueprint. So it kind of looks like that. It's like it's a table that's blank. Cool. Does anyone not have it? Because that's what we're going to. Great. Yep, that's the one, Narelle. Beautiful. Mine looks a little bit different.
Is it this one?
Yes. Yes. Sorry, mine's got old coloring, but that's it. Right.
Yeah, I don't have that one.
Who was that? Sorry.
It's him. I don't have that one. So
It looks like this.
Yeah, no, I don't have that one.
You don't have that. Okay, that's fine. What you can do is you can download it from the resource. So I'm just going to open it up. I'm going to share my screen. Because this is going to be helpful for all of you. All of these documents and more that we'll go through later, you'll find in your resource section. Can you all see the Fuel Yourself Strong and Lean course, online course? Because I'm sharing, I can't see any of you. So if someone could just...
Yep, we can see it.
Great, beautiful. Okay, so I'm in the resources section. Just so you know, this week, the next module will be open, but you'll get an email about that. So the modules open throughout the course, and they'll just kind of line up here. But the resource section is always at the end. And you can see here you've got your complete program guide. And these are the blueprint worksheets that we're talking about right now. So Hem, you're looking for the blank one. And for all of you, you might want the blank one because you might want to redo it. You might muck up the first one and want another copy. And then these are also going to become really helpful. I'll talk about these when we're ready for them. But they are examples of what blueprints look like when they're written in grams versus written in hand portions. So they're all the other sheets that you have. And there's some other things that will come into it. I think you've all got the symptoms tracker now as well. Am I right about that? You've all got the symptoms tracker? And there were a couple of people that we had to email it to because I couldn't catch you in the studio. Okay, great. So let's get going. Woohoo. Now, speaking of the symptoms tracker, by the way, just because in case I forget to bring it up at the end, I really encourage you to fill that out. As I said, there's a copy in the resource area where you can download it and print it out because the copy that I've given you only caters for 1 week. And it seems like a lot because there's like, I don't know, 15 symptoms on it. But all you need to do is rate on a scale of 1 to 10. And I think it's a really wonderful feedback loop for you and the actions that you're taking towards your fuel because yeah, it's like, what we spoke about last week, how our body presents to us and the messages that it's giving us. That's the feedback we want to learn to listen to and take action on that feedback as opposed to only being focused on numbers, scans, scales, and things like that. So really it's like for something to be sustainable, it's got to make us feel better. And the change in symptoms is just really positive, great feedback. So, you may be so surprised, and like using Sally as an example, 1 week is all that's made a difference for her to stop feeling hungry or feel satisfied and to have energy. So there are going to be other symptoms tied up that she may not have awareness, and you'll have a lot more motivation to be a bit more consistent with your nutrition when you get that great feedback. So yeah, highly recommend using that as a curiosity. Okay. Oh, I forgot to ask. Do we have calculators? We're going to need calculators. Cool. Okay. So just so you know, as I said, I've changed the view so that I'm on the main screen so I can share my screen, which means I can't see all of you. So you are going to have to jump into the chat or come off mute if you want to ask a question. Let's get into these calculations. So we're going to start with personalized calorie calculation. Now, what this sheet is helping us do is figure out how much energy, and the word for energy is calories. So how much energy do we need to consume every day? So this is per day that we're going to calculate. Now, just a reminder, is it perfect? Absolutely not. Is your eVault scan, because your eVault scan also tells you this. So if you get any sort of scan, they'll also give you a calorie count for the day. Is it perfect? No, it's never going to be perfect. None of these is ever going to be perfect. But we're going to do the best we can based on what science tells us and learned experience in the industry. We're going to get the closest we can to your daily macro split and calorie split. And then we're going to have to test and measure. Okay. So don't get too caught up on the perfectionist of these numbers. But let's go. We need to know your current weight in kilograms. We need to know your age. We need to know your training frequency per week and your metabolic adaptation category, which you self-assessed in the first sheet. And I'm just going to pause for 30 seconds to a minute just to make sure you all have that. And if you can write in the comments if you don't, if you're missing any of the information, I can help you figure it out. Oh, I forgot to ask if you've got a pen. So you're writing this down, aren't you? This definitely needs to be recorded. All right. Now, one thing I would say with these calculations, and there's something that nutritionists in general will never get perfect, and dietitians just can never figure out perfectly, is training per week and your what we call NEAT, your daily just incidental exercise, they both contribute to adjusting your daily calorific needs, so your daily energy requirements. So you might say I'm training 5 times a week, but if you're not doing any steps, if you're like doing 3,000 steps a day, then you're actually probably more like training the equivalent of 3 times a week. So just be conscious if you are really active during the day, maybe you're a nurse or a teacher, you might want to put an extra training session. And if you're really inactive, like desk for sort of 14, 16 hours, then you might want to take off 1 or 2 training sessions. So it's based on the average of, roughly 8,000 steps a day, but it's not something that we can perfectly calculate. All right, now, based on your age, we're going to go step 1, okay? So based on your age, you're going to times your weight in kilograms by the number that you can see that relates to your age. So it will be, I'm going to do mine at the same time, just so you know roughly. Like, so I'm roughly 60 kilos, and I times mine actually by 33. So I'm 2,000 calories a day. So that gives you an idea. So most people are between sort of 1,500 to 3,000 calories a day. So if you're sitting at 50,000 calories, you've done your calculation wrong. Are we all happy with that? Just holler in the comments if you haven't got that yet. Otherwise, I'll assume we're all good and we'll move on.
I'm sorry, say that. I missed that first bit.
So we're doing step 1.
Yeah.
Can I talk you through it? If you're happy to use how old are you?
60.
So you get your kilograms, put your kilograms, your body weight into the calculator.
Yeah.
Times that by 27.
Yep.
And that should equal your daily calorie.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And if you can just write that in step 1 result.
Yep. Okay, thanks.
Great. Now we're going to adjust your current daily energy requirement to your metabolic adaptation. So this is the category that you rated yourself on the metabolic adaptation self-assessment sheet. So if you were minimal, then you just leave your calories as it is. Just put the exact same amount in step 2. If you were moderate, then I want you to grab your current calories and subtract 150 to 200 and then put that amount in the result of step 2. And if you were severe, then you're going to subtract 300 to 400.
Quick question there.
Yeah.
Why is there a range? Like, is there a reason to choose
Yeah.
lower or higher?
Yes. So the reason for that change, and this is something that the recordings are going up this week, so you'll be able to understand a lot more. We spoke about this a lot last week, but just for everyone's benefit as well, just as a reminder. So your metabolic, if you have experienced metabolic adaptation, that's your metabolism adapting to changes in your life that have caused it to, you tend to see it slow down. So, and the reasons for that could be accidental undereating. So Elizabeth just gave an example, like she's super busy at work and is just forgetting to eat. So if we're for a long periods of time at a deficit in calories, our body is so primed to survive that it goes, you know what, like we're in a famine right now. I'm going to slow down my metabolism because I've got to hold on to my body fat and my energy because I'm not getting enough every day.
Mm-hmm.
So yo-yo dieting, as I said, chronic calorie deficit, maybe potential deficit in certain food groups, whether it's protein or a certain food group. I mean, even illnesses can do it, a lot of inflammation. So that's why a self-assessment kind of gives you a bit of an idea as to how much your body has probably adapted, because we can tell by symptoms as to whether there's been a lot of adaptation or none at all. And the longer the body has experienced these changes, and it tends to be famine, like it tends to be thinking, or really high stress, the same thing. the longer that experienced it, the more severe the metabolic adaptation, the longer it takes to heal. The great thing is that it's like our metabolism is adaptable, so we can bring it back. But the more severe the adaptation, the longer it takes.
Yeah.
And that's really important for everyone to remember. So do we all have step 2? Again, I'm just going to assume yes, unless I hear see any comments.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yes.
So if the adaptation number is higher, should we subtract like the 400?
Yes. Yeah. If you're at the
Yeah.
higher
Okay. If
end.
you're at the higher end, go with
Yeah.
the 400. Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Step number 3. So how many days per week do you do structured strength training? By the way, this is not isolated to strength training. It's all training, but what I would say is the more intense the session, like this is based on sort of a 45-minute to an hour session. If you're sort of doing 15 to 20-minute sessions, then it's not going to be as many calories that you need to adjust. So as I said, this is based on sort of a full training session. So 2 to 3 sessions per week, you're going to add 200 calories. 4 to 5 sessions a week, you're going to add 350, and 6 plus, you're going to add 500. Now, bear in mind, we're adding this to our result, to our step 2 result, not our first one. We're kind of stacking these on top of each other. Now, a little caveat, and I don't believe, my awareness is we don't have anyone in the room who is doing like, large endurance events. So if you are someone who's training 6+ times a week, which tends to, as I said, be more endurance events, or elite athletes or amateur athletes, but tends to be more the sort of those triathlons where they're having to train twice a day, or maybe swimmers, things like that, and you're training 7, 8, 9 times a week, we would have like 500, adding 500 calories would not be enough. But I'm just assuming that no one here is an endurance athlete that are doing 3 to 4 hour sessions at a time. If you are, I definitely need to know that, because it's a whole different calculation, just so you're aware of that. All right, so does anyone not have their step 3 result? Okay, great. So now we have your starting calorie target. We did it. Well, you did it. Now, is it perfect? No. Because maybe step 1 was a bit off, or maybe your estimate, the metabolic adaptation, maybe your body is giving you unique symptoms and it's not the category that you gave yourself. Maybe your training sessions look a little bit different and they're not as tense as you think, or they're more intense than you think. So no, it's not perfect, but it's a pretty good start. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with this for at least 2 weeks. Now, just remembering, if you have more metabolic adaptation, 2 weeks isn't going to be enough for your body for your metabolism to start shifting back. It may be, but it's probably not going to be enough. So if you're someone with severe number of metabolic adaptation, you do need to give your body longer before we adjust away from our starting point to get the feedback. For those of you who are on minimal adaptation, 2 weeks tends to be plenty to be like, is this working for me? Am I hungry all the time? I need more food. Am I just overeating all the time? I need less food. I need to adjust my daily count.
Pip, is the calories from the eVault scan that's on that,
Yes.
how is that different from is that what you were and this is what we're going for?
Great question. Great question. Okay. So the calories, the energy requirements and the calories provided by your scan is going to be different depending on, firstly, what you told the machine. So if your profile, which we recommend everyone set it to better health, which is maintenance, which is going to be roughly the same as what we have now. If you in your profile have asked for fat loss, it's already put you at a calorie deficit. If you've asked to build muscle, it's already put you at a surplus. So it's the first thing you want to understand is, are we comparing apples to apples? This is baseline. where we're looking for maintenance, where we're hoping that your body doesn't shift in body weight, which truly only works if your metabolic adaptation is kind of zero. So what the eVault can't, or any scanner can't adjust for, is metabolic adaptation. It can adjust for how many sessions of training you're doing each week because you put that into your profile. It does adjust for your age. It does adjust for the fact that you're female, but it cannot adjust for your past history with dieting, calorific deficit, stress, yo-yo, anything like that. So it's probably different if you have a moderate or severe metabolic adaptation. Is that generally what we're experiencing in the group? Is anyone happy to share if theirs is different and which is higher?
Mine's about, the eVault one's about 500 higher than what we came up with.
Yes. And are you, do you mind me asking what category of metabolic adaptation you are?
It's the health one because Thea made me do that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
For good reason. Yeah.
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 And your metabolic adaptation, are you minimal,
I put
moderate?
it in severe.
Yeah, so that explains that
reason. Yeah.
difference. Yeah. So and again, I suppose we want to probably touch on why that is, which we talked about last week.
Yeah, it was all 100% under the diet history.
Yeah. And so what this baseline is that we're giving anyone who's experienced metabolic adaptation is not your true base. It's your base with the adaptation. If we were to go straight, Narelle, I hope you don't mind us using you as an example. But if we were to go straight, if I were to recommend you go straight to the base that eVault gave you, because your metabolism has adapted, it's just going to be too much. And it may cause you to put on weight because your metabolism has adapted to a slower rate.
Yep.
And it may be very different to what you're doing. So anyone who has been under eating, and again, this could be purposely, for a lot of women, it's unintentional. They're just not hungry anymore, or they're too busy and they forget. For whatever reason, if you're on a big deficit and we suddenly go, yeah, but your calculated base is up here, your body's just going to, it's a lot. So we just step you up. And that's why for anyone who has, as I said, self-assessed their severe metabolic adaptation, we drop it down and in time, we will be bumping you up as your metabolism adapts.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Elizabeth, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, I had I think the metabolic rating changed it because my eVault has me is a big difference from my calculations. It's much smaller on much lower on my eVault, but with the adaptations, because I put severe, mostly because of the hormonal and diet history stuff, that sort of my calculations are much higher.
Sorry, which calculations are higher?
The paperwork, the ones we did today are higher than my eVault recommended.
Yeah. And probably the best explanation for that is that the other thing that eVault does, or any body scanner that uses body composition that we can't do with these calculations, is it looks at body composition and it takes muscle mass and it takes fat mass.
Yeah.
And it says, okay, how much muscle mass does this body have? Because muscle mass is the most metabolic active. And more of a percentage of muscle mass in a body needs more energy.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to use a random number here just for basic. If your body was 50% fat mass and 50% muscle mass, it needs a certain amount of calories.
Yeah.
And if it's 30% muscle mass and 70% fat mass, it needs less calories. And if it's 70% muscle mass and 30% fat mass, which is no one, maybe, it needs a lot more calories. So that's the beauty of the scan. It can't adapt to metabolic adaptation, but it can adapt to body composition.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a bit more accurate. Your scan is probably going to be a bit more accurate. everything else. So like obviously your age, you would have adapted for. How old are you, Elizabeth?
36. So I'm
So-
under 40. Yeah.
So this is the other thing. What yeah, so you also might be so you also might be higher. No, I think that's the best explanation I can give you. That will be my assumption. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we find that's the main biggest reason, two reasons for the scan being different. There's always a reason, by the way. It is body composition and metabolic adaptation.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have, pardon?
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Does anyone else have big discrepancies that we just want to account for? Cool. So by the way, Elizabeth, for you, I would go with Evo. I'm not sure if you caught that.
Yes. Yeah. I have a recent scan, so I'll go with that one.
Yeah, I'll go that. And then Narelle, I would go with this, with your paper. I'm gonna assume you heard that.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot you can't see me. I put my thumb
yeah,
up. Yeah.
yeah, great. And I hope this conversation is helping you all understand like how the calculations are done and why they change and why it is so complex and why you can't just do a program that puts everyone on the same amount of calories. And why potentially the first number that we land on may be wrong. May be wrong by like 500 calories. It's unlikely, that's a big amount, but it could be because there are a lot of variables that we're working with. Some that we can't cater for because we don't know your body composition, and some that EVOT can't cater for because EVOT doesn't know your history and your metabolic adaptation. All right, let's go to number 3, document number 3, which is your macro breakdown worksheet. So now we take your daily energy requirement and we split it into your macros. And I think this will answer a lot of your questions about how much to fuel your body and with what. All right. So firstly, let's calculate your protein. Now we're going to go 30% of calories. This is a really common method used in this industry. High protein works really well for women who want to avoid muscle loss. It works really well for women who want to lose body fat. And it works really well for health. It does, however, for some women, it's too high a number. Okay, so we can adjust it, but this is just where we're going to start with so that we can get a figure. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to do your total daily calorie amount and you're going to times it by 0.3. So it's going to give you 30% of your energy coming from, with your daily calories coming from protein. And you're just going to put that number in however many calories from protein. So if I give you an example with mine, I go 2000 times 0.3, I'm on 600.
Can we use whole numbers instead of, because
Yeah,
mine was 40? Yeah.
You can totally round. Absolutely. Yeah, it's never going to be that accurate. Yeah. Okay, and now what we're going to do is so we've got, that's how many calories per day you want in protein, but that doesn't mean anything. So we're going to go, how many grams is that? And so to figure that out, you divide by 4 because there's 4 protein calories in 1 gram protein. You don't need to know that if that's just gone over your head, don't worry about it. But all you need to do is go, okay, your protein calories divide by 4, and that will give you how many grams of protein you need per day. So mine, for example, is 150. And that's your answer. 30% method is whatever you just came up with. All right. Do we all have roughly 100 to 200 grams? Somewhere in that vicinity?
Yeah.
Some of you might have sort of 250, but no one will have like 500. That would be just way too much. So I'd read your calculations. All right. Now, we're going to do a double check because there are some body types that just this 30% rule just doesn't work. So we're going to double check and we're going to go, what is your body weight in kilograms? And you're just going to times that by 2 because 2 grams of protein per kilogram body weight is a really nice figure. So this is just a way to double check. And then I'd love to hear if anyone has a different number between those two.
Mine's different, but it's pretty close. It's
Yeah,
not.
pretty close is fine. We'll
Yeah.
stick with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine's
Anyone?
about 14 grams out,
Yeah,
which
it's
is
fine.
really small.
Yeah. Is anyone largely out? 20 grams or more, maybe? Okay, great. So you can go, if you have a different number, go with a higher one or go split it in the middle, as long as you're not under sort of 1.6, 1.7 grams of protein per kilogram, you will be fine. Now, just remember, if anyone's thinking that's a hell of a lot of protein and it's like 10 times higher than I'm currently eating, you will not be able to go straight to that. Protein is something that needs to be built because your metabolism needs to just kind of get used to metabolizing. Like protein's hard to metabolize. So we would just gradually build that. All right. Step 3, we're going to calculate your carbohydrates. Now, just quickly, so on protein, just as a quick reminder, we always start with protein because it's the most important macro. It's the only one that allows us to build. So it builds our muscles, it builds our ligaments and tendons. It's how the body repairs. So we must get our protein in. Carbohydrates and fat do not contribute to that. So it's a really sort of standalone macro. And that's why it's kind of like been put on a bit of a pedestal because it's so important. And also because it is one that women typically undereat quite substantially. So always start with protein. And that's how I would think about meals. When you're thinking about what meal would I eat, I always start with what protein am I going to have first and then build a meal around it. Okay, calculate carbohydrates. So we are doing the split down the middle approach. This isn't perfect for everyone, but it does work for the majority of the population. We will absolutely, in the second part of this, in workshop number 2, we talk about how we would adjust this ratio for different goals and different bodies. We're not going to do that tonight because we just need basic figures, but do not get attached to this. This is not a prescription, but it is good to understand just what the even split is. So we're going 35% calories. So we've got 70% left, right? We've got 35 going to carbohydrates, 35 going to fats. Both of these macros provide energy for the body. Okay, protein doesn't. Protein provides building blocks. Fat and carbohydrates are your energy source. Carbohydrates is for fast, intense workouts. Fat is for sitting, walking slowly, our slow movements, but both of them provide energy. And of course, they have a lot of other benefits as well. Carbohydrates is vital for brain function, hormones. Fats is also vital for hormones in a different way. But we tend to think about carbs being like performance and fats being maintain energy, good hormonal support, and like healthy brain. Like eating fats in the morning, for example, is really great for brain function. So they both have their necessary reasons to eat them. We can't cut them out. We're never going to cut one food group out. They're both so important, especially for women because we need extra support for our hormones. So we're going to split them down the middle. We're going to take our carbohydrates. So we're going to take our total daily calories. So we're back to the total daily calories. This time we're timesing by 0.35. It'll be roughly the same as your calories from protein number. So as an example, mine is 700. So per day, I'm getting roughly 700 calories from my carbohydrates. And we're now going to figure out what that is in grams. So again, you're going to divide that number by 4. So for example, mine is 175. It means per day, I need 175 grams of carbohydrates.
On the quick check down the bottom, sorry, I jumped
Yeah.
ahead. Is it for the fats, should it be ×9 or ×4?
The fats is divide by 9.
Hmm.
Yeah. And yes, times the quick check is ×9. Yeah. So we're going to now jump to the fat. So it's the same calories number as it was for your carbohydrates. It's total calories times 0.35. So you've already got that figure. You can put that straight in. Now this time you're taking that number of calories and you're dividing it by 9 because there are 9 calories in 1 gram of fat. There's only 4 calories in 1 gram of carbohydrates and in 1 gram of protein. So that's why we use the number 9 for fats. That's why people are so scared of fat, because there's more energy per gram. But don't be scared of it, because we'll show you how to split it into your daily quota. So our fat grams will be a lot less than our carbohydrate grams. Do we all experience that? Just going to quickly do mine just to double check. So kind of around the 100 mark, roughly. Okay, and you can do yourself the quick check just to check your calculations. You can put in your grams times 4 for protein, grams times 4 for carbs, grams times 9 for fats, and see if it ends up being your total calories per day. So guys, once you've done that, can you give me a thumbs up? I'm going to go back to gallery screen. Oh, a couple of you still writing. Just come off mute, ask me any questions. I can help you with your calculations. Does anyone have any questions while we wait?
Can this be, obviously this is for us, but is the general calculation minus the adaptation, can that be used for men or not?
Yes, so men are a lot simpler. You would take the initial calculation,
Yep.
base step 1, base calorie calculation, you would times by 33.
Yep. I'm just thinking for my husband. I'll get him on it too. Yep.
Yeah.
Men 33.
Yeah,
Yep.
and they would also have an adjustment for metabolic adaptation.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah. It's unlikely to be as much because their bodies adjust a lot easier because they
Yep.
don't have to protect, obviously, all the baby making
But
biology.
the bracket, the age plus the times 27.
So it would drop less.
I'll drop.
That number, yeah. Everyone, and this is the EVOLT takes this approach as well. Everyone kind of starts with times by 30, body weight times by 33.
Okay.
So if this was a teenager, for example, I've said like under 40, probably assuming that everyone's still over 30. But if it was a 20-year-old woman, it would be 33. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Okay. So we're not going to do the hand portion guide yet. We're going to jump to this sheet. This is your table, macro table. And this will just give you a bit of an idea as to what grams mean. Because now we don't have to work in calories anymore, which I find really useful to creating more positive experience around thinking about fueling and nutrition, we think about what the quantity of macros that we've had rather than how many calories. I don't know that we can really separate the emotional stigma that we've, kind of been targeted at about calories this, calories that, how many calories you should have, extra calories are bad. There's just a lot of emotional kind of weight on the word calories. So you're welcome to use it. I prefer to think of it as energy. But once we translate it into grams, we then can just not worry about calories. So if that helps. Now, if you're having a look at your macro breakdowns, so let's just start by looking at more pure forms of protein. We're not going to get complicated and break down foods like beans and yogurt, things that are mixture between proteins, carbs, proteins, fats and carbs today. That can come later. We just start simply with foods that are pure forms of macros so that it helps you understand what we're talking about in terms of quantity of the macro. So for example, 100 grams of chicken breast or lean meat is roughly 23 grams of protein. Okay, so this is the important part. It's not 20 grams of meat. It's 100 grams of meat, has 20 grams of protein in it. So if you
That's so good because I was just freaking out thinking, God, I have already 10 times more protein than I need.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So no food, the weight of the food will never represent the grams of the macro. It's how your body assimilates the food and what it can draw out of it. And so a healthy metabolism, again, roughly, none of this is perfect, can roughly draw out 23 grams of protein from 100 grams of chicken breast. So our blueprint is all about translating all this gobbledygoo into just simply how much food do I need to eat? And with practice, you'll be able to then look at a meal in a restaurant and go, okay, that's about 200 grams of meat. I know that's about 45 grams or 50 grams of protein. Roughly. And it doesn't matter that it's not accurate, but you can kind of you can interpret your plate by just looking at it. And maybe going, that's 3 times the carbohydrates that I have in a normal meal. Now I'm aware. All right, so this is going to be your go-to. It's really going to support you creating your blueprint. And you're going to have plenty of questions, and that's totally fine. As you do, if you feel confused, that's totally fine. That's what the Facebook group's for. It's what our next workshop next week is for. We're always available. I would say you have a question, just jump on the group, ask it, get the answer, and then you can move on. But you're not expected to just nail the understanding of all this in a one-er. Rarely do we work with such numbers when we're working with nutrition. And I would say my aim for this program is for you to do this enough so that you never have to worry about it again. That's why I want to facilitate you through this. Once you learn, as I said, to build your plate with what your body needs, once you learn what 100 grams of rice looks like, and you know that 100 grams of rice cooked is 25 grams of carbohydrates, you can just multiply what 100 grams looks like, and then you'd be like, well, that's 300 grams of rice. Now I know that that's roughly 75 grams of carbohydrates. And you only need to know it for certain foods because you will be amazed at how few foods you eat. Because you don't need to worry about the restaurant ones. You don't need to worry about the holiday ones. You just need to worry about the day-to-day, your daily routine. What does your normal nutrition look like across the week? You only need to know those foods. And anything random, you can either just don't worry about it or you can use an app, which every now and then I might check. I'll be like, oh, I wonder what this food is. I can't remember. And I'll just check on the app. But it's rare. Cool. Okay. Now, let's look at our blueprints. Let's look at our blueprints. So, What's really going to help you is downloading these that are in your resource area. So these are templates. They're filled out blueprints. How these blueprints are designed to look. Because what tends to happen is people write what they ate. This is not a food diary. I repeat, this is not a food diary. What isn't it?
A
A
food
food
diary.
diary. Thank you. I saw your lips move. I love it. This is what we're aiming to have across the day. Is it going to be perfect? No. But it is every single day, maybe just for this year, or maybe just for the next 2 weeks, by the way, because some of you are going to need to tweak as your metabolism adapts, or as your goal changes, or as we decide to change your fat and carbohydrate ratio based on your body composition, based on your goal. We'll need to change the blueprint, but you've got to start somewhere. That's why we've just gone basic, split down the middle macros, start somewhere, and then you'll learn, why would I change my fats? Why would I change my carbohydrates? And then you get to choose whether to adjust it or not, because you understand why you would, rather than me saying, this is what you should do. Just for interest's sake, did anyone's EVOLT scan show a different ratio of fat and carbohydrate, or recommend a different ratio? Some people might have 40% carbs or 40% fat.
Mine is okay, but I just want to mention, because it's come up before, and it's something that I've done since doing Feel Yourself last time. Last year I had my gallbladder taken out, so I have to be mindful of my fat. So I do less fat than is what my calculations recommend,
Yes.
and compensate it with the other two, just to keep me not sick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's certainly something that I can't comment on due to qualifications. Obviously, that's certainly sticking with doctor and clinical nutritionist or dietitian's advice. But what I would say from a health perspective, and I would say this, I give this advice to anyone, because I have a lot of people sort of saying like, oh, my cholesterol's high, and et cetera, et cetera. And I don't want to make any assumptions here, Elizabeth. So I'm saying this as a general for everyone, okay? Because I don't know enough about what you're going through, and I trust that you're looking after yourself. This is no judgment. For anyone who has these things that go, look, I can't do this specific way because of this medical thing, I just strongly encourage the curiosity around latest studies and true health practices, because I see so many people use general medical advice around food, and general medical advice doesn't come from later studies, and it doesn't come from people that are working day to day to the level of detail that, for example, a clinical nutritionist or a dietitian is like, in the field. And there are also wonderful Facebook groups. I worked with someone who had their gallbladder taken out during a 6-month course, health course I was running with her. And she found a Facebook group that was all about supporting people through foods. And yeah, it's amazing the information you can, as I said, again, high cholesterol, anything really, like, yeah, you can just sometimes eat a lot differently to what the medical industry tell you, if you're getting the advice from the right person.
Yeah,
So,
and it's definitely a trial and error sometimes. So, like, for example, a trigger for me is not the same as a trigger for my sister who's had the same surgery. It can be completely different.
yes.
So it's going to be, anybody with health issues going to be very unique to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more you can learn about it, the more you can make those empowering decisions. So yeah, good on you. Great. Okay, so team, here's a bit of homework. Okay. You got to feel, and this takes a bit of just sitting down on your own and working through this. This takes a bit of time. But what you're going to do with your blueprints is you're going to go into the Facebook group, the member zone, and you're going to have a look at the 2 examples. I've given you one for grams and one for hand portions. Just choose one. Some people find it easier to work with grams. They get to weigh the food and they kind of know quite accurately what they're working with. Some people never want to weigh food in their life, and that's totally fine. That's why the hand portions are there for you. Okay, but just choose one or the other. To do both is going to get very confusing. So there is a hand portion guide, which was the 4th document that we had that we didn't go through. That's very simple. You can do that on your own. It just converts what your daily calorie is. It converts it for you into hand portions. And then you're going to complete your blueprint, either with hand portions or with grams. Cool? So what you need to do with your blueprint is firstly decide on your meals. Maybe you're having 3 meals a day. Most women thrive on 4, maybe 5, because we include our snacks. So personally, I like to think of snacks as a meal because we still want to see that macro split. We never want to have a snack that's purely carbohydrates unless it's timed around your training, which we talk about in workshop 2. So generally snacks, we think about them having the macro split as well. Okay. So every meal, we want to see this beautiful macro split. And all you need to do is go, okay, I'm eating 4 meals a day, including a snack. I need 200 grams of protein. Let's make the maths easy for us all. I need 150 grams of protein a day. Well, I've just not made that easy. I need 160 grams of protein a day. Divide by 4 meals. That's 40 grams of protein I need per meal. Simple. We can get complicated later. If you want to have more protein in the morning and less protein at night, we can make some tweaks later. But please just start with everything balanced. It's going to make such a difference to the way in which you can take instant action. So split your protein across the day, every meal equally, split your carbohydrates up, split your fat up. And the next step is to, with your meals, time them. Ideally, there's a 1 hour bracketed time that's the same every day. Do you know what women's bodies love? Good circadian rhythm. A good rhythm throughout the day of rising in the morning, when the first meal is, when the next meal is, when the next meal is, when the next meal is, going to bed at night with a lovely, healthy sleep hygiene routine. Our metabolism loves it. Our hormones love it. Our mental health loves it. So aiming for our meal times to be the same every day within an hour is a really great goal. And I get it's not possible for everyone. There's meetings, I get that. There's going to be certain things, kids' activities. Let's just start with that as a goal though, and maybe you start with breakfast and just get that at the same time. Or maybe breakfast is impossible, so you start with lunch. Do what works for you, but let's set up some levels of success first. Let's set up some easy wins. So focus on things that you can just like get rolling and build some momentum. Cool.
Can I just ask, as a like really basic one, like do you have an app or something like, so I'm looking at this list, so I drink a lot of milk, right? But I'm like clueless what even category it's under.
Yes.
So where would I go to get the breakdown here? Like what
absolutely.
category, what, yeah.
So the 2 apps that I recommend are Chronometer, and I'll type it in the chat. Chronometer is the first one that I would recommend first, Chronometer. And then the second one is, sorry, didn't send, there you go. MyFitnessPal. Now, MyFitnessPal is the most popular one. The problem with MyFitnessPal is anyone can add on to MyFitnessPal, like any Bob, Jane, what is it? Dick, Bob and Jane, something like that. Anyone can add in, and it can be wildly inaccurate. So if you just want to avoid that, Chronometer, excuse me, Chronometer is controlled. So regular people like you and me cannot add foods, so it's more accurate. It also gives you a lovely breakdown. Actually, both of them do now. Yeah, thanks, Mim. It gives you a breakdown on women's health stats as well, so you can have a look at your micronutrients in there. Again, we're going to cover this in a later.
Yeah. No, that's a good start. Thank you.
But yeah, so any food that you have regularly, yeah, just you want to chuck it in one of those apps and just you get an idea of the breakdown, and you can actually put it into your blueprint. So if you're like, I have chocolate every night and do not take, like, I will kill you if you try and take away from me, put it into your blueprint. The point is that the blueprint works for you. We can tweak it later, but let's get it something that you feel like, you know what, I can do this. I can work towards this. Cool. Cool. Okay, I'm going to tell you one more thing that's going to be really, I think is going to be really helpful. One of the biggest goals you might remember me talking about when it comes to nutrition and what drives your decision around what to eat is this going to help me feel good? Is this going to help me feel good in 2 hours? Is this going to help me feel like good in a sustainable way if I were to do this every day? And a big part of that is our hormonal profile and our hormonal balance, and which is part of the metabolic adaptation, not all of it. Hormones can be imbalanced, and it's they are two different separate things. But for women, it's really helpful to eat sort of 1 to 2 hours after waking and not have a really long fast. And I know that that goes against a lot of the later advice on fasting. And here's what I would say to that. If you have any metabolic adaptation, you want to resolve that before putting your body through any more stress. And one of the best ways to resolve it is to eat your breakfast soon after rising and consistently. So I'm not saying that fasting is bad. It has its health benefits, but the caveat and what is never explained when these sorts of things are recommended is there's never an asterisk that says this is based on a healthy 20-year-old's body. We never see that. And if we did, there'd be a line of about 100 things as to if this, then it's not good for you. But if this, then it's not. It's just too complicated. So we know that most of those studies are done on men. That we've already explained the reasons why that is. They don't have the hormonal complications. Yeah, go for it, Hem.
I just had a question about training and
Yeah.
eating before training. So if you attend the 6 o'clock morning session or something, is that going to mess around with that cycle, the rhythm?
Oh, no. So you'll create your cycle based on your daily routine. So it's going to be different to someone else's. We are going to talk about eating around training in the second workshop. But what I would say regarding your blueprint, and I'm pretty sure that, yeah. So there is some examples on the templates. I would put, if one of the meals is pre-training, I would put that. So you just know that in your blueprint, like for example, it might just be a banana.
Yeah.
And it will come under a meal, but it's like this is a pre-training, because then the next day if you don't train, you probably won't have the wake up at 5:30 to have the banana. That'd be weird. I mean, you can, but so that's how you would, I suppose, indicate on your blueprint. And yeah, we can certainly talk about the nuances of training in workshop 2.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So just on that note, and I appreciate we have gone over a bit, guys, we're wrapping up. Around training, what I have done with your calculations, if we've calculated roughly the same energy requirements each day without adjusting to training. So some people prefer to eat more on training days. And that is something that you can do, but it becomes a lot more complicated. Most women prefer to just have the same thing every day. So just so you know, the calculations that we've done just assumes you're eating the same every day. But you may find that you're extra hungry on training days. Eat more. That's fine. We may need to adjust your blueprint, but for now, that's just so you know, that's what we've calculated it at. Any questions? Sure.
Hey,
Yes.
sorry, just not on that. This is the first time I've had my Vault printout done.
Yeah.
Will there be an opportunity to go through what the stats in here mean?
Yes, I do
At
a
some
separate
stage.
Evo unpack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. For
Cool.
now, we just want the calorie, the macro split. How'd we go, by the way, with the numbers? Are they roughly the same?
Mine was about 500 out, but my metabolic stat was quite high. I was in the severe range. So once I factored that in, I was on par.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. It's interesting, isn't it?
Oh, it's very interesting. Yeah, so that's why I was
Yeah.
like, I don't understand too much of the stats. So I've just left it aside and gone with the calcs we did tonight.
Yeah. So just again, just to not add levels of complexity with the EVOL for now, we're just looking at the calories and the macro splits that we're interested in. And then we do a full EVOL unpack where I go through and explain all the other figures. But they're not going to change anything in your blueprint. In fact, what this blueprint is going to provide is improved stats on your EVOL scan that you'll start seeing with visceral fat, inflammation, hydration obviously is an important one. So certainly you'll see that on the blueprint there is water per day. That's certainly something that should be key focus if you're someone who doesn't drink. Get that up to 2 liters a day minimum as fast as you can, because that's going to help digestion and metabolism and everything else. That's a lot, right? So glad we didn't do that last week, eh?
Yeah.
So, and you're not like, I'm not expecting you to take it all in. As I said, it's a lot. People's minds are always blown after these calculations. What just needs to happen is the creation of the blueprint. You need to post it in the Facebook group so I can comment on it. Just get something in, even if it's just protein. Okay. Just promise me you'll get something in your blueprint that's related to your calculations. Post it in the group so we can start having the conversations. You can start asking more questions, and the questions have context, because at the moment they're probably a bit like you don't really know what to ask until you start creating the blueprint. Let's work towards that. It could be anything. Some of you are going to be like, I can't, it's too much, I can't eat it. Some of you might be like, I'm starving, what do I do? We can do instant tweaks, but I need the feedback. So what's today, Monday? What's our deadline for us all posting our blueprints, our first draft? As I said, it can be one macro, it doesn't matter. But what's our deadline for posting first draft on the Facebook group? It's up to you guys.
Maybe Monday, only because I've gone away for a couple of days, but that's just me.
Well, you're an elite athlete, Anita. You're focused. So,
if I make it. Sorry.
So can I just clarify again, Pip? What we need to put on the blueprint?
Yeah, I will put up a example. How about that?
Okay, that'll be
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
And you'll all have something completely different. So what I'm looking for is, you've got a blank blueprint. I'm looking for you to fill it in with how many meals, and it will help a lot when you see the templates. So how many meals you're having a day, the timing, a 1 hour block that you're having them, and then your macro breakdown. And I appreciate that it's hard for you to know what to ask when you haven't seen the template. Well, what I'll do is just really quickly share it with you, because I have prepared it. So I'm clicking this one in grams. We'll just have a look at the one in grams. Don't worry, that's not it. Okay, here we go. So can you all see this? Sorry, I just need a yes, because I can't see any of your
We
faces.
can
Well,
see the download, but you can't see the actual blueprint. Yeah.
oh, you can't?
No, so I think you have to go out and come back in again.
Oh, okay. Let me try that again. There we go. It should definitely work. How's that?
It's uploading still. Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Good job.
All right, so see here, we have, let's just look at meal 3. So there's actually not, I've just realized, we rebranded these to make them pretty, and I've just realized that I need to edit. So this should have a time here. It should say like between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. every day. So that's what that would be there. Because you can see my cursor, can't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
okay.
then, so just say this meal between 11 and 12 every day, I need to have roughly, we're not going to be perfect, but roughly 120 grams of beef or chicken or salmon or pork. They're just I'm just like, you know what, for lunch, I tend to have leftover dinner, and they're my main go-tos. Yeah. So for you, it could be something different. It could be tofu, chicken, and fish. And then I go to my fat. I go, okay, well, I'm going to have either olive oil or avocado. By the way, once you have a look at your macro table, you realize that there's only like 3 or 4 fats to choose from that are healthy. So this becomes very easy. There's butter, there's avocado, there's olive oil. What else? There's peanut butter. It's kind of it, really. And then we have veggies. I always just say go for gold. Just don't worry too much about veggies. We're not talking about starchy veggies. We're not talking about potato here. We're just talking about mainly greens, reds, your colorful veggies. I just say unlimited. And just beware though, if you're having 5 fistfuls of vegetables and they're slathered in olive oil, then that needs to be accounted for. And then your starchy carbs. So this is where you're going to have to play. So in our next workshop, I will bring in food to represent what things look like, to represent what 100 grams of rice looks like. But if you've got a scale at home, I would recommend going, if you've got 4 meals and a quarter of your carbohydrates, you need 50 grams per meal. You just need to figure out how much cooked rice that is, and that's what you put in there. Is this making sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So these are just options. So this is not a meal plan. This is just saying for any given meal, I know that I need to have 120 grams of meat roughly to hit my protein. I know that I need to have 10 grams of fat. And I know that I need to have either 100 grams of rice or quinoa, you need more just because it's got less carbohydrates in it. But for you might have buckwheat in there. You might have potato or sweet potato. But see, this person has gone, you know what? I didn't have my potato for dinner. So I put in my quota of potato there. But all of these are interchangeable, right? Yeah. There should just be a few options so that I know how to build my meal. I know what the portion of my protein needs to look like. And that's really all you're learning at the beginning is if you need 20 grams of protein per meal, what does that look like in food? And just get a few options. The other meals at the moment, don't worry about them. Just keep doing what you're doing with them, but just start with one meal. Maybe it's breakfast. And do your calculations, nail that, and we can expand.
And Pip, is it okay to do protein powders and stuff if you struggle?
Absolutely. Yeah.
eat the
So
meat?
protein powder, that's a great question, and it's always asked. It's a supplement. That's what it is. So how do we use supplements? Well, we use it literally to supplement our diet. So we don't want to put it as like the first option. So if you had a choice between real food and supplement, you choose a real food. But if it means that we're actually hitting our macros with it, then it's a great choice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And a lot of women use it and tend to use it when they're starting to build their protein because it's just a really big shift from what their diet was, and it helps them actually get it in. A lot of vegans use it because it's very hard for vegans to get in enough, because all vegan sources of protein, there's no pure protein sources that are vegan. They're always more carbohydrates than protein. So it makes it hard to hit the markers. All right, I might wrap up there because I want to respect time, but also don't want to overcomplicate things. You just need to put something in the blueprint, even if it's wrong, and send it to us. And then we get to start the conversation based on, I get to go, well, let me help you. What was your calculation on this sheet? Okay, well, that means that you need 30 grams per square. Like I can kind of help you nut it out, but we got to start. Cool.
May I ask if
Yes.
this recording, when it will be available? I have had a lot of internet issues, so I really need to watch it all back again.
This will probably be up tomorrow. So you are going to get it
Awesome.
tomorrow with recordings. If
Perfect.
not
Thank
tomorrow, it
you.
will definitely be available Wednesday, but I reckon it will be
Yeah,
up tomorrow.
that is all cool.
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay, so guys, look, the deadline that Anita suggested was Monday. I think that's very nice. So, because as I said, she's an elite athlete. She's got shit going on. She's got a tournament on Thursday. She's very busy and important. The rest of you who are just average people like me, if you could aim for Friday, I think that will be a lot better. Let's get you set up so that you're working with something over the weekend. So the faster you get it up on the group, the better. But the absolute deadline is Monday. Do you all know that we're back in the room next Tuesday together?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And the reason why that was brought forward is because of Easter. How do we feel about that? Because I'm just thinking if you're gonna send in your blueprints on Monday, and then you're gonna get the
Maybe,
next
maybe do it after Easter instead.
I'm just want to put up the vote. Who would prefer after Easter?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Not many. Not many.
Oh, my hand up.
Oh, I can see I can see a few hands up.
Oh, I don't mind.
I've had to book
I don't mind.
I've had to book it out so I can attend. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. We'll stick. Because we can do this again. We'll be doing this like every second week online.
Okay.
So the idea is that through the entire program, you're chipping away at your blueprint. That's why I said you don't have to nail it. You just got to get something up, and every week, like, we'll just chip away at it. So just because we catch up next Tuesday doesn't mean that that's it. We'll still be catching up online. Cool. And what I'll do next Tuesday is I'll bring in food, measured out food, so we can really play with what things look like. And I actually think that that will be the biggest help for your blueprint anyway. So plenty to do. Okay,
Right.
go forth.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks,
First
Pip.
draft on Facebook.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to seeing them.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.
All right, see ya.